first met you, I thought you were weird and annoying. And you are.
Last one's in the house to the north. Pushing. Went upstairs. I'm going up back. Cracked him. He's down. He's begging for his life. He's showing me pictures of his wife. They just had a kid. He's never met him. He's crying. He says he never wanted to join up. He doesn't even believe in this war. I'm choking him. He's fading. He's fading. His eyes roll to the back of his head. Team wipe. Headed to the loadout northwest of here.
Everybody look, a white woman in danger and distress.
Hey, baby. Hey, how you doing?
This little cobweb potion, you'll fall into dark devotion.
You know, for a long time, I just didn't get isekai. Blank slate of a dude gets sent to another world and ends up with a harem of women who are definitely too good for him, and people eat it up every time. And I'm just sitting here like, I don't get it. Like, I get it, but I also don't. So I just thought isekai wasn't for moi. And then I had a realization of what was missing for me. Because you know what I like? Political intrigue. Social intrigue. It's why I love Game of Thrones. I didn't really care about battles outside of, Daenerys' dragons. But I loved the political and social warfare. Sometimes the biological warfare. That's what I needed. And villainous isekais? They got that for me. And I dipped my toe into it. My next life as a villainess and all that. The stories of people being reincarnated into villainesses and basically just becoming nice in order to not die is nice and all. But I want the cunts. I want a pro-tag that doesn't turn the other cheek. I don't want a pro-tag that went to the Michelle Obama school of dealing with folks.
No, our motto is, when they go low, we go high.
No, fuck that! On everything, y'all got me fucked up! On my mama, y'all got me fucked up!
I want a pro-tag that graduated the Amy Dunn school of dealing with bitches. I want a toxic woman filling my phone screen. I want to constantly be up all night talking about some girl that is so evil. Do it again. Because of that desire, I came across Depths of Malice, which, despite the subject matter, is one of the safer choices still. And what I mean by that is that you don't really have to worry about a lot of innocent folks getting hurt. First off, almost everyone in this series is a piece of shit. Verda is not stepping into a den of snakes as a little mouse, because she's a snake in the guise of a mouse. Why do I say that? Because this is not Verda Alvahart. The real Verda Alvahart is dead. And this is Rita Wicker.
She's got a point. She's an icon. She's a legend. And she is the moment. Now, come on now.
Meet Rita Wicker. She was once the daughter of a baron, but lost everything when her mother was set up and accused of something by Proud Carter, and she unalived herself. From then on, Rita has been falling from grace until her present-day life, where she is working as a pub waitress. Well, was. Because now she's a terminally ill patient dying of consumption, aka tuberculosis. And as if dying wasn't bad enough, here comes the actual Verda Alvahart, who's on a massive death ideation binge, because she literally comes to visit Rita just to tell Rita how lucky she is to be dying without trying.
Weird, buddy. You're weird.
Yes, she comes to visit a terminally ill patient to tell her how lucky she is to be dying. And Rita fucking hates her for this, and why wouldn't she, right? One day, after seeing Proud Carter again after so long, Rita is basically like, okay, so this bitch wants to die, and I don't, so let's do something with that, shall we? And so she makes a deal with this sorcerer named Yersha, and they're like, hey, what if I put you in her body and put her in your body? And Rita's obviously like, yes. So then Rita wakes up as Verda, and thus, we step into the arc that sold me on this series, and that is the arc that I have dubbed the Jean Lawrence must die arc. Now let's get something out of the way really quick. You have to be really dense to think of Verda the way Rita does. In fact, one of Rita's major flaws to me, in the beginning at least, is that she doesn't really recognize just how little of a choice Verda has in her life, despite that same lack of agency being one of the reasons her mother had her reputation ruined and unalived herself. Once Rita is in Verda's body, it becomes very clear just how much Verda is a mouse in a snake pit. A New York mouse, but still a mouse. Her parents are more concerned with their work than her, and the only one who's taking charge of taking care of her is her butler. I mean, essaying her.
What?
Yep. The moment she's in Verda's body, we open up with some sexual assault. Love that. And obviously, it's a weird scene to sit through because Rita is trying to gauge the situation and she's completely unsure if she should be like pretending to like this or not, just so she doesn't raise any red flags. Then it's like this guy is talking to her as it's happening and it's like he's grooming her for someone else.
Police! Help! Police! Help! Police! Help! Help!
Oh, the Lawrence family has a very promising future in politics. You'll be very happy with your marriage, my lady. And it's only then that Rita realizes, like, okay, maybe Rita has her reasons. Still fucked up to tell me that I'm lucky to be dying, but I get it. And that's when Rita's given this whole monologue, like, Rita Wicker couldn't afford to have Malice, but Rita Wicker is legally dead. So she immediately does a complete 180 in the body of Verda. Like, she gets rid of all of these dresses and she's just like, I need bad bitch dresses immediately. She sends off her maids and all of that. And there's this one small scene that I like. It's like, again, it's like really small, but she makes two of them stand outside of the room and pretends to walk away. And what she's really doing is waiting for them to start gossiping. Because if anyone knows what's really going down in the House of Commons, it's gonna be the help. And they do. So she's able to perfectly gauge the situation through them. She learns that Count Lawrence's son, Jean, is coming, and Verda hates him, but the feeling is mutual. So then it's like, okay, so then why is he coming over? And then they talk about how Jean is always accompanied by his mysterious friend. And the maids think that that's kind of weird too. And I agree, because who is this strange man you're bringing into my wealthy Caucasian home? Then she hears info that really pertains to her, that the Lawrence family are trying to become right hands to Marquis Carter. Yes, that Carter. That no bottom lip having ass bitch. Rita is now fully invested. And by fully invested, I mean homegirl is slick as hell. Then she gives us more insight and she reveals that Proud Carter was already a powerful man. So him fucking with a baron's family is just weird on its own. Then we finally meet the fiance because he decided to show up this week instead of the week after. And just before they're let in, Rita goes to one of her maids named Jana or Yana. I've been pronouncing it Yana because it makes more sense to me. I don't know. And makes her hide in a nearby wardrobe. And then we meet the bastards and finally learn why this Baron Jacquard dude is always accompanying John to see Verda. Because Rita invites him to take a seat and John basically gives Jacquard the go-ahead to sit right next to Rita while John sits across from them. And my brain was immediately like, no.
Police! Police! Help! Police! Help! Police! Help! Help!
So it turns out, not only has Verda been being assaulted by her butler, but her fiance has a kink for watching her beat SA'd by Jacquard. And this man is sitting here like, how does it feel to be kissed by another man in front of your fiance? And it's giving very much white dudes that like watching white women have sex, specifically with black men. I know Jacquard isn't black, but side of your shit, he's kind of the closest we're gonna get to that. And even then, your shit's not even black, so. Your pale body trapped and violated by the bronze and muscled Jacquard is a beautiful sight. Excuse me?
Is this nigga serious?
And then he reveals that Ian has been ordered to relax Verda at the behest of him. And this is mainly because that Ian was essentially promised that, hey, if you do this for me, you can come live with us after I get married to Verda and you can have her whenever you want. Like, this man is talking about how he wants to watch Verda be deflowered on their wedding night, and he's just oh my god, he's disgusting. He's gross. He's weird. Like, he is in desperate need of the hard candy treatment. Then he tries to sick Jakar on him again, and Yana is like, I have had enough, and comes out from the wardrobe with a mop in her hand, and she's just swinging it. She's like, get off of her right now and get the hell out. And even Rita's just like, oh my gosh, she's so cool right now. After it's over, then Yana starts worrying because she's like, oh my god, I got mixed in the affairs of like the wealthy. I'm gonna get fired. But then Rita's like, no, you're getting a raise and you're gonna be my personal maid from here on out. So then Rita confronts Ian about what happened, and now she's trying to fire Ian, but he's just like, you're not my employer, so you can't do that. So now I'm sitting here like, did her parents hire him and he's just using semantics or some shit? Or does the Lawrence family just have that level of influence over the Albaharts? But she's firm in showcasing her hatred at Ian and showcasing this complete 180 in Verda's personality. And it is scaring him, but Ian will be dealt with. So the plan to get rid of Jean Lawrence and now Jacquard is now building. Not completely relevant to the story that much. I thought I'd bring her up. Verda did have a friend, and Rita gets to meet this friend, Julia Shade. And I'm not gonna lie, because I was so ready to love her because she looked absolutely adorable, and then she opened her mouth and she revealed herself to be a bitch. Like, when I say only a few characters in this story are actual decent people, like Prince Brandt or Rosalie Amber or Yana, I mean it. I would say Julia is a cunt, but she's not that bad in comparison to others. I would say she's like dickhead levels, which is below cunt. To put it simply, she has this HOA energy. And if you've ever met an HOA person, then you get it. She's basically that. She's just suburban mom levels of petty and annoying. Acting like the victim of an arranged marriage. How typical. Why not take some responsibility and just say something? This is apparently the type of girl talks she has with Verda. Now, let's play a game called Who Has More Power? So, Verda is the daughter of a count, Jean is the son of a count, Proud Carter is the marquis, and Julia is the daughter of a duke. Now, can anyone tell me, between these three ranks, which has more power and influence? If you said duke, you're right. Now, right below duke would be marquis, aka Proud. Then below that would be count, or earl, whichever you prefer to call it. So now, place two count families with one having some backing from a marquis, and guess which one has more power? You said the count with the marquis for a friend, then you'd be right. Which means Verda's family legit has no power outside of whatever market they control in comparison to the Lawrence family. Especially because the Lawrences work in the government. This is literally a check your privilege moment. It's kind of like one of Rhaenyra's initial flaws that people think is a writing flaw and not a character flaw for some reason, because God forbid people write characters that don't have perfect moral compasses and
I could go on, but Skelter says it takes too long to get me off my soapbox.
Julia does the same thing, but she really revels in it. Like, I think she knows Verda does not have the power to do the same thing she does, and just wants to rub it in her face, or at least egg her on into screwing herself over. We then meet Julia's brother, Blaine Shade, and the beef between these two is made so clear. And Rita wastes no time in taking advantage of that. Hexley in the future, who is currently on the... It was read ahead. Beef is an understatement. Holy shit, it's a massive understatement. If Julia becomes a member of the Royal Guard, it basically threatens Blaine's claim as head of the family. So the two team up, and that's a whole different plotline, which involves Rita paying off a lady of the night to cut off a friend of Epstein's dingle dangle.
Oh, you're awake. Well, your teeth are finished, and your gums should be here by the end of the week.
Where's my dick at? Where? Hey!
This guy is also the one that can give the go-ahead for Julia to be accepted into the Royal Guard. Blaine basically plays it off that he was simply following a tip about a brothel that was holding children, and they just happened to find him there. So in exchange for keeping what he was really doing their secret, he blocked Julia from enlisting to think she'd requested for him to be neutered. It's rather cute of her. Same, honestly. So because Rita helped him screw over his sister, Blaine is now like, hey, I owe you a favor now. So Rita asks for some information about Jacquard. That's not the favor, by the way. They end up getting a little frisky because this man is swooning hard. Like, get one dude's dick cut off and he's ready to risk it all for you. So through Blaine, Rita finds the illegal potion shop that Jacquard has some ties to. I forgot what they said specifically. I think he might own it. She's wearing this perfume that's meant to really entrance people. Perfume is apparently very potent in this universe, I guess. Like, potion level potent. So Rita and Yana head to the shop and they make a whole scene about Rita wanting a potion called Sleeping Beauty, which has the implications of suicide. She's able to get it and then she leaves. As they're leaving, Rita stopped by Mr. Not All Men himself, Jacquard, and that's exactly what Rita wanted, because the moment Bro smells Rita's perfume, he's gone. He's enamored. What isn't the perfume in this world? So he drags her off to a nearby alley and he's confronting her, talking about you're trying to kill yourself again. And then he's like, give me the potion while I'm asking nicely. And it's just like, bitch, no. Rita puts on the waterworks and she's just like, John is the devil and this is the only way I can escape him. And you see Jacquard feels guilty. Not enough to atone for his actions to stop being a pawn to essay someone else, but I digress. Still, you cannot die. Not as long as I'm around.
Girl, shut the fuck up. You thought you ate that?
I know he walked home like, yeah, that was deep. She fell for that hard. But we find out that what Rita wanted to gauge was if Jacquard actually had feelings for Berta, and he seemingly does. And that is going to be his downfall. It's also hella suspicious to me because you have feelings for Homegirl. When did you get these feelings? And what are the circumstances for you having them? Because my brain is immediately like, do you only like her because she's a victim and you think you two are in the same boat? Because massive ill, my guy. So then Rita meets with Yersha and asks for a potion that will, quote, cause one to become as violent as a gladiator. This scene is also really nice for me because it's slowly building up this weird, but honestly kind of cute bond between Rita and Yersha. Yersha's apparently a fugitive sorcerer that's wanted for killing a sultan's mistress, and they've essentially been gone from their home country for so long, and Rita's got some herbs that will remind them of their home, and Rita's like, I want to help you get home, and Rita sees Yersha as her savior. I like this dynamic because Yersha also sees something that's comforting about Rita and her desires. It's the perfect weather for screwing someone over. Rita, I love you. Who does she screw over today as she visits the administration building? Well, a few people actually. She starts with Julia by getting her to publicly admit that she was rejected from the Royal Guard. I also like to take this moment to kind of shout out Julia Shade because, like, at first she kind of seems like, well, she is a dickhead. And it's like, she gets this humbling and she doesn't really recover from that. But it's like, as the story goes on and we just learn more about her, she kind of becomes one of my favorite side characters in the series because, I don't know, in this, like, world where, like, the biggest thing about her is that she doesn't fit in because she's not a proper lady. You know, she's not like Verda or Rita pretending to be Verda or something like that. She doesn't have something that makes her, you know, either the perfect heir or the perfect woman. And even Blaine is like, yeah, she's always kind of been a shame on our family and all of that. And it's just like, it's in that Julia is very much a fun character because it's like, she's essentially like has her own little side story of like proving herself and like just trying. She's like literally the embodiment of if she's doing her best. And like, I actually fucking love that for her because she just stands out where everybody is playing like, oh, they're playing all of this 2D, 3D chess and all of this shit. And then you just have Julia who is trying. You just have Julia who's trying. And she's like, I feel like she's underappreciated for that. And I just wanted to just take this moment and shout her out. And it's like, because after like this whole thing, she's like in the series, she just becomes more and more, tolerable. Like, because at first she's just trying to prop herself up, and then she's like doing it by trying to throw Verda under the bus. It's like, see, I'm better than you. But it's like, it's like, I don't know. There's something that's kind of switches, like when she stops becoming like an enemy and just becomes like, she technically to Rita, she's like still a nuisance. But like at that point, she just becomes, you know what? I love her. I love her. I appreciate everything about her. I love Julia Shade. Thank you very much. Julia had been basically avoiding Rita like the plague because she was just embarrassed. She's actually here to see John, though. Why? She's here to put on a showing of wanting to call off the engagement, but because John's family is the one with more power, it would be up to him. Well, really, it's up to their dads, but that's beside the point. And we do get John's thoughts, and he just really hates her. And he's so weird about it because he hates her pitiful nature, but it clearly plays a huge role in his little kink. And we learn that it's not the first time John has heard Verda ask to end the engagement. John explains that both of their parents want this union, and Rita starts more waterworks. And as he's ignoring her pleas, he starts drinking some of the tea, and unfortunately, for him, that's exactly what Rita wanted, because the little potion she requested was sprinkled into the tea. And knowing what we know about what she wants the potion to do to someone, it makes you go, hey bestie, what are we doing? Because you could be forgiven for thinking that this was for Jacquard, not Jean, but then in her head, Rita says, trying to accuse him of attempted is way too obvious and cliche. If you've watched or read stuff that takes place in these studies before, while you want to believe that justice could happen, it really won't. And that's because it'll be someone with power's word against someone without it. Especially if the word is against a woman that is seen as someone who doesn't deserve agency. It's pitting Jean against the ideology of women as objects. A daughter is the object of her father, a tool to be sold and used. A daughter is merchandise in a setting like this, and you don't break merchandise. Many folks will respect the daughter's position as merchandise and as an ideal before they respect her as a person. It's a very messed up thought process, but I'm all for making a fucked up system work for you as someone who's marginalized myself. So the stimulant is working, and you can see John trying to keep himself together while lying about how he just loves Verda because Verda's so beautiful. And Rita is prolonging it for as long as possible until he snaps. And he keeps drinking more and more of the tea because he's like, oh my gosh, she's like being very irritating today. And then Rita says the thing that sets him off, and honestly sets off a lot of douche at John. You're lacking down there, aren't you? I saw everything. What? She even repeats the line he said to her in a previous chapter. It's as if a demon is deflowering an angel. You're so damn small and pathetic that you bring your friends to do it for you, right? Like, she straight up calls him a eunuch bastard. And that word echoes in his head, and he slaps her. Big ass red mark on her cheek, falling to the floor. She has been slapped, and he leaves. But if you think that's the end of that part of the plan, let me remind you that it's called Depths of Malice for a reason. She says, even though I fed him a stimulant, it ended with only one blow. And despite the whole explanation I just gave, I was really being naive at the time when I first read this and was like, well, that's all you would need, right?
Nope.
She does pass by Prince Brant, and he does notice the mark, and she does the whole I fell down a flight of stairs routine, but he tells she's lying, and now he's suspicious of Jean. And while Rita is pissed that she ran into Brant, this will work in her favor. And I really do feel bad for Prince Brant because he's really the quintessential male lead type character. He's aware of the corruption happening, and he does want to stop it, and he's slowly falling for Homegirl. There's an entirely different genre of story playing out for Brant, and it's not the story everyone else is playing. But back to Rita.
Emma, no.
Okay, Emma, no.
Stop.
Emma,
no.
stop it.
Emma,
no.
Stop it.
This is the moment that really spelled it out for me that this woman is a demon. This is the part that told me that Depths of Malice is not some edgy title, but the author warning you that Rita Wicker is down for pulling out any and all stops. The only person around is Yana because Rita has to make sure that no one else sees this. Because a maid is only as loyal as a good paycheck. And that's not me trying to throw shade at what info the other maids could have exposed. I would have totally understood. But after this scene, I would have been afraid for any one of the help that was a witness. The only reason Rita has to play chess is because these people have more power than her. I don't want to see what she would do to someone who has nothing compared to her. To be fair, maybe she would try paying them off, but if they tried to blackmail her,
it became personal with me.
Dear God, rest their souls. Why do you look so whimsical, girl? Rita tells Yana to wait at the bottom of the steps, and then when she comes down, she must get rid of all of the padding. And poor Yana has literally no clue what's happening right now. I don't know how she doesn't know, but she's blissfully unaware. And you know what? Love that for her.
Why are you crying?
The union between aristocrat families won't fall apart with just one slap on the cheek. I got myself slapped yesterday to find the strength to leap to the next level. Then this bitch leaps off the top of the stairs and Yana almost has a fucking heart attack. She passes out because obviously, and the next morning she wakes up looking like Sophia if all her life she never tried to fight. It's still not enough for her apparently, so she uses makeup to emphasize the bruises and then makes her way to the Lawrence estate.
It's about to go down.
She pulls up, is told Jean isn't there, all according to plan. Instead, she asks for Jacquard, who is there. And Jacquard is having a whole flashback of when he first met Verda, and as I expected, he saw her crying and how much innocence and sorrow she exhumed. Is that the word? I don't know. And fell in love. But how far he's gotten trumps the agency of someone else. Never mind the fact that if someone else just happened to witness him essaying her, I know for a fact that Jean would throw him under the bus. And that whole shtick he clearly has of just following orders would not fly. But sure, whatever woe is me plot is happening in your brain is fine, sir. And he's having this moment of remembrance, all the while Rita has done popped the potion in his drink for him. Bro can't even look her in the eye because he's like so ashamed. She offers him the tea and then he finally sees her and he is set off. He's not even paying attention to her asking for the sleeping beauty poison. He just immediately starts asking questions. And it's so funny to me because this panel would come off as, ooh, spicy, he's about to kill for her in any other story. But in this one, it's just so pathetic. Just him acting like he cares where she got her bruises from. Guess it only really matters when he isn't the one ordered to leave though. Rita's laying it on thick too with her whole thing of either I'll die by his hand or my own. She's even like, you're not even a real knight because a real knight is supposed to protect a lady. And that stings him bad. Then Jacquard just hammers down on his BS with this line that really pissed me off. He treated Berta like a mere courtesan. So it's cool when he does it to other women, but not women you like. Short.
I need to buy a gun.
But regardless, what Rita wants is done. Homeboy is pissed and he even downs the rest of the tea like it's beer and he leaves. And he's talking to himself like, I lost my composure, I need to get some air, and then he runs into Jean. Did you strike the Lady Alberhart? Of course, Jean is thinking he's talking about the slap, which he proudly admits to. Well, she was making such a fuss, so I thought I'd teach her a lesson. Why? Don't tell me you feel sorry for her. You were more than happy to fall to her. So sexually exploiting her is fine, but hitting her is a crime?
A win is a win. A win is a win.
John is kind of having an Azalea Banks moment. He's got a point, and it's very hypocritical for Jacquard to try acting in her honor now all of a sudden. John just doesn't know he's poking a doped up bear right now. Shut up and listen to me, you dog. If you don't do your job, I'll throw her to some other bastard instead. I'm going to make her a wretched mess. I can't have you...
Damn. He really about to rock my shit.
Meanwhile, Rita has found this like little secret room Jean has, and she steals these weird flowers he has in there. And it's like, what possessed you to pick those up? But then at the same time, when I'm playing Hitman, I just pick up shit. I don't even think about like, what do I need this for? I don't know, just take it. They kind of do look like tiny water balloons filled with blood, so they're very aesthetically pleasing at the moment. She comes out of the room and Jean is a bloody mess. A dead, bloody mess. When she sees that, she steps in talking about some stop Jacquard. You don't have to do this for me. And she's literally doing the stop. This isn't you. Look at me. This isn't you bit. Then we skip ahead to the court date. Jacquard is on trial for murder. Homegirl showed up in morning clothes. Specifically ones that showed the bruises. We see the shades again, and here comes Julia. She's trying to make this about herself, but Rita quickly puts her in check, and now she looks goofy in front of everyone. But Blaine is like, this bitch really got her fiance murdered. Oh my god. And it's so funny because he was low-key upset when she asked about Jacquard because he thought maybe she had feelings for him. And now, weeks later, one's dead and the other is on trial for his murder. And he's just like, this bitch has been busy. Everyone is talking in the courtroom about how Jean hit her and her bruises are on full display. Suddenly, everything stops when Marquis Carter pulls up and Rita is pissed, but she keeps herself together for the trial. Funnily enough, it's Prince... Boy, what's your name again? Prince Brant, yeah, he's presiding over the court, and they bring Jacquard in chains. John's dad is going off, calling him an ungrateful bastard, saying he's no better than a beast, yada yada yada. And you know, between John's Mandingo fetish and Count Lawrence calling him a beast, the Lawrence family are not beating the racism allegations. So we get a little flashback, and apparently Rita got Jacquard to agree to a little deal, and the trial starts. Jacquard basically says, yeah, I did it, it was on me. Then he goes on talking about how it was his duty as a knight to protect Berta. We're not going to talk about the other stuff he did. Count Lawrence is not having any of it, but everyone else is just like, I mean, that is what we pay them for, so... But apparently Rita gave Jacquard his defense to say, and he's following it to a T. Then Rita gives her statement, and when Count Lawrence is like, evidence, I need evidence, who's to say you ain't have some other bastard hit you to spin your story? Oh my god! I mean... But because of that little encounter that the prince had with Rita, he's also essentially a witness. Then Rita calls her own witness, Blaine, which threw me off completely. And Blaine is talking about how Rita would come over and they would share conversations, and Julia is beyond confusion. So they're essentially spinning the story that Jean committed all of the abuse while Jacquard was a powerless bystander until he just had enough. And then through this, Blaine essentially repays Rita for helping him dethrone his sister. The entire turn of events has been skewed to Jean interrupting Rita and Jacquard's meeting, and that's when he assaults her. And at first, Jacquard tries to get help and is slapped and stopped by Jean. And then Jean was like threatening to get Rita as aid if Jacquard left and all of that. And Jacquard was just left with no choice. And everyone is appalled. Like, even Julia is like, what the fuck? I didn't know it was that bad. Oh my god. Carter is the only one keeping a straight face, because I imagine that Carter knew. He's like, oh my god, who could have seen this coming? Oh my goodness. Turns out he was I was just so surprised. Like, he knew. He already knew. Then Count Lawrence gets so riled up, he fucking faints. But because of this testimony, rather than being executed, Jacquard gets 20 years, and the trial is over. Then there's this scene near the end where Brant sees Rita, and she's over there like kind of crying, at least from afar. And he's like, I guess she's still in mourning, because the whole thing is pretty traumatic. Plus her parents aren't even here to support her. And then he sees it. That sinister smile on her face. And he's immediately just like, well, shit. To be fair, I don't think he immediately suspects foul play, but there is just something very unnerving about her smile, and he's not... The hairs on the back of his neck are very much standing up after he saw that. Now, Rita can focus her attention on getting rid of Ian because he has no one protecting him. However, it doesn't necessarily end there, because Rita finally has a face-to-face with the man who ruined her life, Proud Carter. Rita is able to fool him, whether it's on purpose or not, and I'm not sure, but it throws Carter off. Of course, he's talking about the flower that she took, but he doesn't even suspect her of any other wrongdoing, and if he did, he's not really showing it. And that is my dubbed official end of the Jean Lawrence Must Die arc. There's a side quest essentially getting rid of Ian, but since it happens after and it is mostly off screen, I'm not really counting it as officially part of the arc. It's kind of a transitional thing, because she gets rid of Ian and then brings in Yersha, like a replacement butler. So, you know, he's basically hiding out in at the Albahart estate, basically. But after the end of Team Jean Lawrence, Rita has set her sights on someone else. Because if Jean can't become Proud's little protege, someone else has been moved up the ranks. And Rita can't have that now, can she? And luckily, there is an inn. And that inn is named Rosalie Amber. But that's the topic for another day. But that's gonna be it for this video. You guys are gonna notice that my mic sounds way different. I got a new mic. Because, like, Elgato was giving, like, the BGGC member stream team like some gifts, so I got a new mic. I don't know how to like adjust it properly, but it will work. It works. So I'm gonna sound vastly different. I'm still trying to mess with, like, tweak with the volume settings and all that, because I don't want it to be too loud, but I also don't want to have to be like with my snowball where I had to just be like right there, or else it was not gonna pick me out properly. But yeah, like I said, that's gonna be it for this video. I do hope to do another one of these videos, because I have been reading a lot of stuff, like just like covering some arcs that are not whole things, but like at least covering really good arcs of certain stories that I've been reading. Like, I've been checking out this one story called Mega Church. I also been thinking about re-picking back up The Take to Have, which I didn't drop, but I just kind of took a hiatus on because I was reading so much stuff during that time, and I was like, I can't do it. And I started reading Roxana the other day, as well as The Crimson Lady, or most people know it as The Resetting Lady. And, like, those are so good. And I even started Get Schooled, which is so good. A lot of it is so good. So I do want to cover them at some point. But in the meantime, I have been Miss Hexley, and I will see you soon.